Okay, now that you've got your content written and ready to go, you've had ChatGPT generate some great content. You've gone through, formatted it, had Ian edit it, added some great images. But so now this last step here is getting it ready for import in KP. So part of the things that we need to teach you about is basically creating page breaks, headers, and and how to use fact boxes effectively in the KP platform. So I'll start off with an example of a really well-defined topic here, a design topic done by Aaron on the types of relationships. So in the outline, we had our topic of types of relationship, and it had multiple subtopics in there. So basically, we just went through and filled out the information. So the first thing you'll notice is that we have a definitive page title. So page titles are really important because that's how it gets translated into our platform. So when a student looks at a page, it's going to say types of friendship. And the next thing we see is we have headers. Now we'll see what that means here in a second. But headers help break up the content on the page to give it like basically subtopics or subheadings in there. And so we have images here, et cetera, et cetera. So if you use ChatGPT and you ask it the question, what are different types of friendships, it would probably dump out a bunch of a list of all these different friendships in a bullet or number fashion. So that's not something we want. We want you to actually take the content and then turn it into nice little paragraphs talking about this. Because remember, we're educating high school kids here. So we just need to make sure that it's relevant to them. So then we take that information, break it up into these different headers, add images for each one, just to make the learning experience a little bit better. I mean, who wants to just read a bunch of bulleted lists? So then we go into the next one. So the next one is we have a title called Friendships and Team Development, and so on and so forth. We also forgot to mention that a fact box here using the notes style was to be imported here. So we just scroll down here and we have family relationships as a new page. Here's the content for that page. Then we have types of families and so on and so forth. So this is a very well-defined and designed page of content that is ready to be imported into our platform. Now, we don't have this one imported because it's slated to be imported later today. It was just done. But I will show you one that we did earlier this week, done by Aaron on home selection and management. So this is the module home selection and management. So we see here's the module name, and the first page we have is called housing needs, and you can see all these different pages down here as well. So here's the first page of housing needs, and we have this header, and then a fact box, and then the image. So what that looks like when we first received it was this. So we have the title housing needs, and we have header, and then the image here. So you can see how that translates to a much better reading experience than just a bunch of text on the screen. Then we have our fact box, it's categorized as real. Then we move on to the next page. So you can see that, this module was derived from 3 pages of content because that's basically on the outline. We had like the major topic was home selection and maintenance. And then we had these 3 subtopics. And then within these 3 subtopics, we create more subtopics. So going back to the document, types of housing, and here's all the different types of housing with images for pretty much each one. We don't need image for everything, and we get to the end. So here it is translated onto the platform. Then we go to the next one, ways to obtain housing. So this one is a little more text heavy, but here we go, renting a home, renting, and then what's the difference between that and owning a home. And then we have a fact box here. The more information you have to make the decision, the happier you'll be. So let's open up that document. So here it is, owning a home, and then there's the fact box, and then we go, and this is actually just one topic, so this ended up being one page. Now, one thing that I want you to consider is think of like a page design as like how much content can exist on a page. Obviously, we can't have just one sentence on a page, but we want enough information. But in this case, we're borderlining on maybe too much information. So, so this might could be divided into ways of obtaining housing, renting, and then another page titled owning a home. And then we do that as well. So, but this is actually good. But think of it this way. You have a PowerPoint slide. You can put only so much information before it gets overwhelming. So think of it that way. It's like, if this page was like three times longer, then it creates disengagement from the students because they look at it and go, oh gosh, this is so much information. And then they get overwhelmed and become disengaged. So we want to keep that in mind as we're creating these page breaks, that we don't create too many page breaks, but we don't create the page breaks where that concept is too big. And speaking of concepts, our system is called concept driven mastery. So what we're doing is like, this is a concept, ways to obtain housing, and everything in here is designed to support this concept. So if it doesn't support this concept, then it doesn't belong on this page. It belongs on the next page or another page. So then we go to defining spaces. So this is basically a nice good page of information on decorating living spaces. So we can see that it would be document 3. And there we go. And then next one page will be elements of space design. So let's go to the next one. Elements of room design. There we go. We actually change it to room. So there's the fact box for that. And we have space, line, form, texture. And then let's go to the next page. Color basics, using color in interior design. Here we have 2 fact boxes, one titled fact and then the other one used as a note. And here is color. And the reason we use fact boxes is to kind of give a little aside, like, here's a little information about this, but also it breaks the text, adds color, and gives significant meaning. So if I see this, then I know that I'm seeing a fact. If I see this, then I know I'm just seeing a note. So let's go over what the fact boxes are. We have multiple different fact boxes to choose from. Most of them will end up as fact, but the next type we have is a note, and we have review. So if you have like review questions you want to throw in there, this is a great place to put it as well. Action. So if you need the students to do something, or say, go and fold a paper airplane now, you could do that as well, or that could be also accomplished in our activities and projects as well. Then we have warnings, like, don't run around with scissors. And we have recall. So if you need to restate information, this one doesn't get used as much. Quotes. So if you have a notable quote, this is a great place to put the quotes here as well. And please keep in mind that we try to limit the 1 fact box per header. So if you have more than 1 fact box, you can do that, but we want to try to limit 1 fact box per header. The reel is actually a great one because you can use real world examples. Like, for example, LeBron James uses a lot of color to decorate his house and maybe provide an example, whatever, just fun stuff. And then the other one, which is different, is the teacher fact box. So basically think of this as like, the teacher edition, and only the teacher can see it. So you have your teacher edition book, you have like a little notes in the margins. So this would be a great place to say, hey, here's a discussion question that you could lead in your class on this topic. Here's some examples, here's some tips on how to teach this. These are just like really good things to note. And very important because this is basically taking your experience and relaying that knowledge and expertise over to the teacher who doesn't have that, to give them more ideas and whatnot. So then let's go here. Let's go to the next page. We have principles of room design. Here we go. And then we go to the next one, which we have background and furniture. So scrolling here, we can see header, line, form, texture. And the only thing I have to say that, if you want to make the headers a little more descriptive, please do so. But most important thing is like making sure that the titles of the pages are very descriptive. So we don't want to just have one word titles. That gets pretty ugly. And there we go. So that is the home selection and maintenance module as translated from your work into our KP platform. And then later on, we'll be transforming this into an activity, a project, other things like that. And then we'll add that into this as well, lesson plans and whatnot. But this is what we're doing is we're creating foundational content so that we could then create some more amazing stuff later from this foundational content, which will be the next phases of your development. All right, if you have any questions, you know where to reach me.